Hi. How are you all today? Yeah? I'm Samara Davis, founder of Black Bourbon Society, and welcome to Salon 7, our Black Bourbon Society Legacy Awards, the New York City edition. I am so honored to be here. This was a partnership that was started with Black Jack Daniels, and it is in honor of Nearest Green, the first master distiller for Jack Daniels. He actually taught Jack Daniels how to make whiskey. Nearest Green's legacy continues on at the distillery. There are still distillers that work there now. And of course, he's been named the grandfather of the Lincoln County process. He's helped to make Tennessee whiskey what Tennessee whiskey is known for today. So we created this program when we wanted, in a way to honor current legacies, right? People who are either making a legacy for their future or who are carrying on a legacy that was passed down to them. I'd like to introduce you to my 6 nominees. I'll tell you, I have 7, but I'll introduce you to my 7 honorees. If I can get Mr. Jackie Summers to come up. Jackie Summers. Oh, my friend. Okay, each one, I have to just say a side note, each one of these people on this stage really mean a ton to me. So I may cry, I don't know. But I'm so glad to have Jackie as my first honoree, Melissa Potter, Lauren Grove, Shireen Woods, Miss Frankie. He is doing what a good husband should do. And don't worry, Lauren's not going to be drinking. She's just, she's pregnant. That actually is a belly. Miss Frankie, Shireen. And if he will allow me to introduce, I do want to highlight Chef Kingsley. Chef Kingsley is the head chef here at Red Rooster. He is also one of our honorees. He's in the back. And then we have one more honoree who wasn't able to make it. We'll hear from her a little later. But Shannon Mustafer is also one of our honorees. So let's get started. We're going to do a panel discussion. You see there's whiskey in front of you and there's food, right? Please don't drink your whiskey until we all drink whiskey together, okay? There are no refills on that. All right, so, you guys need microphones. All right. So before we get started with our tasting here, let's just kind of go around and I want to make sure I don't fall off this stage, y'all. Old lady alert. Okay, so let's kind of go around our panel here and just tell everyone who you are and what you do. Tell everybody why you're so dope.
Hello. I am Lauren Grove. I am the Chief Experience Architect for the Grant Access. We are a full-service event planning and production firm. I am also co-founder of HBCU Spring Coming, which is an annual HBCU festival for alumni held in New York City. We are going into our 8th year. And we, thank y'all. And we host most of the events in Harlem, which is why this is also very symbolic for me.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Potter. I'm Vice President of Social Impact for Viacom CBS. So I do a lot of problem solving for a lot of the television shows that we know and love, whether it's Black Ink Crew or Love and Hip Hop. If there are pressing social issues like mental health or racial justice happening on these shows, we make sure that stories are told in a responsible way by partnering with production companies, working with talent and crews to make sure that we achieve that goal.
What's up, y'all? I'm Jackie Summers, and I'm surrounded by amazing black women. Like, how much luckier does a guy get, really? Look at this.
I feel like this is a constant for you. You're always surrounded by beautiful black women.
But like, that's intentional. Because of what we do, I don't run into people like this every day. So if I don't make it a point to actually involve amazing black women in my life, it doesn't happen by osmosis. This is intentional. So I'm grateful for all y'all. Thank you. For real. I am the creator of Sorrel Liqueur, and I might be the first legal licensed black distiller in America.
Hi, I'm Shay Wood. I like to call myself a serial entrepreneur. With my husband and family, founded several lifestyle brands. 5001 Flavors is a custom clothing company that specializes in making clothes for artists and entertainers. We are happily celebrating our 30th year in business this year. We transformed that into Harlem Haberdashery. It's our retail boutique at 245 Lenox Avenue. We're celebrating our 10th anniversary this year. We've expanded into HH Bespoke Spirits. We have Spirit Collection, but we also have a newly launched bespoke alkaline water product that launched yesterday. So I'm super excited to be here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ms. Frankie Marshall. I am, what I like to say, a modern bartender and educator, spirits educator here in New York. And I do many things. I'm one of the slash generation. So I think it'll all come out as we speak, but those are the top line notes.
Okay, and we do have words from Shannon. I don't know if we can see it. We may have to kind of exit the stage just a little bit so that we can see the screen behind us. And then you got up here. Step aside. Okay, Spiros, roll that footage. Hold on, we're having some sound issues.
Just tell her to unmute yourself. It happens all the time.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shannon Mustafer. I'm a Brooklyn-based spirits educator and cocktail consultant, and I'm reaching out to express my gratitude for Black Bourbon Society selecting me to be a recipient of the Legacy Award in 2022. I would like to thank Black Bourbon Society and Jack Daniels for mounting this event and experience, and also to extend my congratulations to the other recipients of this award tonight. I'd also like to thank you, those in attendance at Salon 7 this evening, and express that while I regret that I'm unable to join you in person, I hope that I'll be able to see you in person soon, where I can pour out a spirited libation in honor of our ancestors and also in anticipation of other achievements that we will collectively garner over the years as we pursue Black excellence in our respective fields. So with that being said, enjoy your evening, and I wish you all well. Thanks again, Black Bourbon Society and Jack Daniels. Cheers.
Okay, so what Shannon didn't tell you is that she is the first Black woman to ever write a cocktail book. She's the second Black person to ever write a cocktail book since Tom Bullock, who wrote his first cocktail book in 1910. So Shannon is very dope, and she is legacy in itself. Okay, so I think we should drink. What do y'all think, right? Like, we're gonna have a conversation. We named this Salon 7 because if y'all know what salons used to look like in Harlem, right? Like all the Duke Ellingtons and the whoever else's.
Mama was born around the corner from me.
Your mama was there too?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she could have been there.
Yeah,
she was. So, yes, so we're gonna have a salon. So a salon is where they had a conversation and they also had a little bit of libation, they had a little bit of food, but it was an intimate conversation amongst friends. And it was really pushing ideas and and thought forms forward, right? So they were building their own legacies during the Harlem Renaissance, as we are today. So let's start from the left to right. We're gonna taste Jack Daniel's Old No. 7. Lauren, I'm gonna drink your sip. Jack Daniel's, No. 7. This is probably as close to what we can get to what Nearest Green actually made with Jack Daniel's back in those late 1800s. Does anyone know what the Lincoln County process is? Does anyone know what that means? Any bourbon? Huh? Tell us. Okay, fine. Jesus, don't have to yell at me. What makes Tennessee whiskey? Tennessee whiskey is this thing called the Lincoln County process, and it's basically a charcoal mellowing. So they make this whiskey, they make this beautiful distillate, and then they filter it through charcoal maple. And that helps to kind of strip some of the impurities out, but also brings in some of the sweetness into the whiskey. So let's take a little sip and let's see what Jack Daniel's is all about. Sip it slow, it's not tequila. Yeah? Sip it slow. Remind folks.
That's good.
Okay, so we're gonna dive right on in to these questions. I didn't print out my notes, so I have to do this on my phone. So let's start with an easy question. What does legacy mean, right? Like, what does legacy mean, and how are you all carrying out a legacy of your own? Yeah, whatever, jump in, or we can go back and forth, up to you guys. It's a conversation.
Okay. I will be honest, legacy means something a little different to me now that I have children. I will say that a large part of my legacy in first moving to New York when I moved 12, 13 years ago, I'm no longer a Harlem resident, but I spent 10 years here. And so my legacy was a lot about being a little girl from South Carolina and making it and not having to go home to my parents, right? And so my legacy was about how can I create not only a good work ethic and career in this city, but also establish my name as a brand. And that came a little later as I developed more into my purpose. And so I think what legacy means to me is whatever is going to be left behind when you are no longer here. You know, there are people here who have been here through a lot of iterations of what, thankfully, I've been able to do in this city. And DJ Commission, I have some memories of some things that we created here. The first brunch party in Harlem was ours, right? And so when we think about things like that, that is what legacy is to me.
So similar to you, I have a 2-year-old, so I think about the legacy of lineage and what it will look like for her to tell the stories of what her mother has accomplished, what her family has left behind for her, but then also what future generations can capitalize off of, hopefully from the building blocks that we're putting in place now through financial literacy and job success and travel and mental health and going to therapy. All of that combined, I think, lends itself to what we want our family legacy to be. And for me also, from a professional standpoint, changing the industry, right? And I hope that I was one of the first folks to really have a career in social impact. I started my career as a celebrity publicist, and I worked with Violator and Missy, 50, Busta, Tribe Called Quest, and the list goes on. And I got so tired of all of my artists being featured on the cover of the New York Post for negativity. And I said, I know that they're doing turkey giveaways. I know that they're giving back to the communities that birthed them. So it's important for me to elevate and expand upon those stories so that the general public knows as well that these artists are leaving a legacy behind. And so continuing on that work that I get to do now in TV and film, and hopefully returning back to music at a certain point, so that Black artists in particular don't have a legacy, as we're seeing now with Kanye, of destructive behavior, but their creativity
You had
is
to bring
what,
it up.
right, we can celebrate at the end of the day.
So there's a toast that's been in my family for generations. I got it from my mom, who got it from her mom, etc., and so forth. It's call and response. One person says, "May you live forever," and the other person says, "May you never die." And I gave that toast for most of my life and didn't understand what it meant until I started to work on Sorrel, because Sorrel is not my story. Sorrel is a story that predates me by centuries. And if we do it right, then the story goes on, and I'm a footnote, and that's fine because the story's bigger than me. But it is about living a life that's worth telling stories about for generations. That's what legacy is for me. There's this thing that I am part of, and I'm a small part of it. But if I do my part, the story goes on, and that matters more than I do. May you live forever.
And for me, legacy is definitely about how people will talk about you when you're not here. I can remember someone saying to me that if your dream is just for yourself, it's not big enough. And so for me, legacy was about creating something that was bigger than me, that lived beyond me, that benefited future generations, but also honored the past. And so it's about closing generational wealth gaps. It's about creating pedestals and networks that your family members can benefit off. It's about having mutually beneficial relationships so that they can get help when they need help. It's really about building a foundation. I went to private school, and I can remember I went to school with a Vanderbilt, a Schermerhorn, a Morgan, and I didn't realize until I was older that these are brands built on names. These are people. And so when we talk about Benz, we're talking about an individual. When we're talking about Woolworth, we're talking about someone's grandfather. And so we have to create these legacies that lived beyond us and that put wealth into our communities. And for me, one is definitely about wealth, but it's also about bridging the gaps and not only talking about generational weaknesses, but celebrating generational strength. And I think the Black and brown communities were full of very creative people. And I think now is a time when we start monetizing that creativity. And so it really is about helping the community succeed, because success by yourself is not fun. You need your community to thrive. And so for me, legacy building is community building.
Well, it's been really interesting to hear what everyone's had to say, because legacy is not something I honestly ever really thought about in relation to myself. I have no kids, no pets, or anything. So, I'm sorry. And it's not even something that it's only, I'm really excited to be here about this, because I never really thought of myself as someone to be focused on in this context, really. But over the last few years, there's been a lot more conversation about people in the industry that I'm in, the cocktail world and the spirits world, about who was kind of there, not that far back, but a little further back. And I guess, and I was, and I still am. So I think for me, legacy, it's not only what I'm leaving behind, but it's what I'm living now, and how I'm living, and living positive in a positive way, rather than, like you were saying, having a lot of negative things focused on. And for me, it's about now getting more in touch with people who feel that I'm possibly someone to know, put it that way. So I'm making more of an effort to do that, rather than kind of hanging back. So embracing it, as we were talking about, embracing this legacy that I'm living now and taking advantage of it so I can make conscious decisions about how it goes and the direction it goes.
I think of a lot of if I could just speak directly, a lot of the young Black bartenders look up to you as their role model. Like, you are Ms. Frankie. Like,
Right? It ain't like there's another one.
Right. There's not one. But it's just like, we've got shirts with your name on it. Like, you are bartender history. So absolutely. So I am ready for another sip, right? Let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep the second sip going. So we're going to now switch over to Gentleman Jack, which is a little bit sweeter because it's been twice filtered through charcoal, through this charcoal filter. So let's go ahead, let's taste that. Tell me what you think. Sip it slow. Yeah, Jack. Gentleman Jack. Gentleman Jackie. Yes.
I love Gentleman Jack.
Front and center.
Just the words is gentleman and Jack. When they're talking about me, nobody makes that mistake.
I like that one.
Okay. So another little sip going there. Okay, so we talked about like what it means to build this legacy, right? And what you guys are working on, but what inspires you all to keep building this legacy? Like, what's your personal motivation behind you? Like, what, when you wake up in the morning, what drives you to keep going every single day?
Guess we're gonna do
Or we
this
can go,
whole-
let's start with Miss Frankie and work our way down.
Honestly, I want to succeed. You know what I mean? I'm not even going to pretend that I don't. So it's something that, I think these days you have to, at least I have to make a conscious effort sometimes to do things, to actually put actions in motion that are going to get me further along. So that is part of what motivates me. And also learning, I really do love to learn. And I love to explore, and I love to travel, and I love to just have experiences. So I'm motivated by all of that. And again, just to come back to what you were saying earlier about, like you said, if there are people out there who are watching, I think that motivates me to be better at what I'm doing, and a better example setter for people since they're watching. I am conscious of that now more than ever. And again, it's something I didn't really think about for a long time. It was just kind of living, trotting along, skipping along, and then suddenly you have that, I guess you'd call it a bit of an extra, is it a responsibility? Sometimes it's a bit of a weight, because people do put credence in what you're saying. So do you have to watch what you say? Do you have to act a certain way? I believe that, I think, not everybody does, obviously referencing, as you said, but I feel that is an important thing to do to set an example and that other people can not emulate, but just kind of look and say, hey, that's I like that. I like what's going on over there.
And so for me, the question is, what's your why? That's what we talk about that in our family. And for me, my why is definitely my family. I'm very purpose-driven about what I'm doing. I think also when I had my daughter, I think I became more conscious that, there really is a reason why we're here. And it's not just getting up to, get that check every 2 weeks when you had a job, but when you have your own business and you create your own economy and you actually see the results. I think for me, getting to the next goal is what keeps me going, and seeing there are goals that I'm reaching, there's impressions that I'm making, and there's lives that I'm changing because I'm surrounded by like-minded and like-hearted individuals. So for us, it's just about building this really cool collective of people that support each other. So my why is definitely my family.
So I wake up every day with the obligation of all the sacrifice that went into letting me do what I do. I'm being clear about this. I'm the youngest of 5, and I'm the 3rd smartest of 5 kids. And I say that only because my brothers are idiots. But like, my mom was a research scientist in the 1950s when this country didn't have a use for women or black people. My dad was a jazz musician in the 40s, played 15 instruments, taught Eartha Kitt to sing. Like, you could go anywhere back in my lineage, and there were people who were smarter, more driven, more talented than I am. But they had a harder fight on their hands. I don't complain to my ancestors about my problems because they laugh at me. Oh, you didn't get your funding. Was anyone trying to hang you today? Shut the f. So I try to live with the awareness that everything I get to do, it's because I'm standing on a mountain of sacrifice. And I only think, what can I do to make the mountain higher for the next generation?
Thank you.
So quite a few of us have mentioned our family. As I said, I have a 2-year-old daughter, so I get really excited working from home now when she knows mommy's in a meeting and what that means, and comes and pretends to tap at my computer keys. It's just her seeing that as an example of, you know, the complexity of being a mom to her and a working woman and living it day in and day out is inspiring, not only for me to envision what the potential of her life looks like, but also I allow her to sit in my lap sometimes for Zoom meetings as she sees other young Black girls that work on my team that I have the privilege of mentoring, and showing them that it's not just the era that I grew up in, which was the late 90s, early 2000s, hustle, hustle, grind, grind, don't sleep. You can actually take a break. You can actually be a well-rounded person and be very successful in the entertainment industry. So professionally, familial, and then also I like making racists mad, like just shining and having them hate, you know, brings a smile to my face. That a young Black woman has the success that I do today, with much more to come. And I just have them sit back and enjoy the ride.
My why regarding my legacy, I'm gonna be real honest with y'all. I want to pay and do business with everybody who looks like me. That is just, you know, and I think it's a unique position to be in as an entrepreneur, to be able to choose who you work with, right? There are people in this room that I have given money to and made money with, right? And so that is my why. I want to get every single Black and brown person paid. And that is how I feel. We work with 75% or so minority and women-owned businesses very intentionally, not to the detriment of our business, obviously. If you do shitty work, we won't work with you anymore. But if you do good work, we're sending money your way continuously, and we tell all of our clients that. Nike, Goldman Sachs, we tell all of our clients that we are going to work with minority businesses, and when they're investing in my business, they are also investing in other small Black businesses. And so I consider myself a bit of a vigilante for justice for small businesses. I have turned down businesses that have treated us unfairly. I have walked away from contracts that had 90-day payment terms. I have not signed agreements that didn't make sense for me. And I have called out companies that continuously say that they want to invest in small businesses and want to invest in supplier diversity, but none of their practices show that. And so I am blessed to be able to do that. Every company cannot. Sometimes my husband looks at me like, you sure you want to walk away from this? But for me, that, you know, that's my why. It's in line with my legacy. It's in line with my morals and my values. And for me, I want my son and sons, I want my sons to see that their mother was never afraid. Right. That money did not run me, but I made more of it because I was so invested in how I made it.
I love Lauren. So I've known Lauren since you were 17, 19. Yes, and I was inspired by you then, and you continue to inspire me now. Yeah, you got some of this going home with you, so you just wait, but you deserve a sip of that. So this is all inspiring. I don't know about you all. I am definitely inspired by this conversation, but legacies doesn't come easily, right? It also comes with a lot of heartache, a lot of frustrations as well. So can we just talk about like what is frustrating? Like you mentioned a little bit about like working with companies that may not see your vision, but let's talk about some of the other challenges that you all may face in building out your legacies.
I hate to go again. Yeah, so I think my biggest challenge was figuring out the value of my work and what that looked like, right? I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm in an industry where you don't make a lot of money unless you work for yourself. People don't really wanna pay you, right? And so I remember my first year being a full-time entrepreneur, I changed my pricing strategy 3 times. I sat with one of my best friends. Thank God. Shout out to best friends who still work in corporate, because you need somebody who still works in corporate who can loan you $1,000 when you need it, right? And so a best friend who did pricing for, at the time, you know, a Fortune 100 company, literally said, let's go through your clients and see how many events you would have to do per month in order to make your last salary. And the number was asinine, y'all. It was something like 13 corporate events, something that was just impossible for my, at the time, small team of like 2 people. Praise God for growth. We're no longer just 2 people. But you know, at the time, it was like an oh shit moment. Like wait a minute, you're gonna have to charge more. And that also means not thinking that you know what's in somebody's pockets, right? And being able to say, I appreciate you thinking of me. Maybe I'm not the right partner for you. And so that was one of my biggest struggles in year 1. And I'm still learning that, right? You know, we joke about Fat Joe saying yesterday's price is not today's price. But you know, our team executed the first HBCU day at the US Open in September, 12 hours after a hurricane. Yesterday's price is not today's price, right? And so but that's a hard thing, I think, for a Black woman, because we're often walking in a room where someone already sees us as less than, already sees us as the help, already doesn't expect us to step up, right, and speak up, and are expected to take what they're offering because they're bigger than you. And so you gotta come in with a certain level of, I got what I got and you need what I got, right? And so getting through that psychological piece, which, you know, shout out to therapy, helps a lot with that. But getting through that psychological piece it's all in your head. It's all in your head. Because you're gonna charge what you're worth and they're not gonna flinch. You know, so that was my biggest challenge.
I've actually gotten to the point where if they don't flinch, I didn't charge enough.
If they don't flinch, my daddy used to always say, if they don't come back to you, you left money on the table. If they say yes too quick, you left money on the table. I literally just had that happen to me, and I was like, damn it.
I had that happen to me too.
Like literally last week.
Damn
I was like,
it.
they said, like, she was like, send the contract. I was like, I left money on the table.
You should have asked for 100,000 more.
I should have literally asked for more. And so that, you know, that happens, but getting through that mental block of saying I'm worth this, my work is worth this, is a whole ordeal that was really challenging for me in the beginning.
Very good.
So in the work that I do, it knocks on the door of DEI, and it really touches on race, culture, and identity. And post George Floyd and the racial reckoning, we know that every company was making these astronomical commitments financially and in hiring practices to do better with Black people. And now in 2022, silence. There's no Black History Month programming. There's no Juneteenth happening, right? So for me, it is a mission of advocacy and to be a voice in the rooms where I'm often the only one, and learning to be unafraid to take up space. Because I do have my own mortgage to consider and other responsibilities where it's a fine line where you know that they are sensitive and we know who they are, to push back and to the things, holding them to task for what they committed to doing over the last 2 years. And now that it's become out of style or declassé, and we have, you know, voting rights being voted down across the country, making sure that we stay committed in the work that I do to upholding those values and going beyond writing the check. So for me, it's just really making sure that for consideration, not only hiring, but retention of Black employees, making sure that the Black experience in corporate stands up to what we know that it should be, can be, and will be moving forward.
My problem was never figuring out my own worth. My problem was waiting for other motherfuckers to figure it out. I remember launching my liquor brand in 2012, and no one believed I owned a liquor brand because no one had ever seen a Black liquor brand owner before. And I'd show up at places and I'm like, hey, I make this. So like, delivers in the back. No, I make this. And to this day, like, When I go into boardrooms, right, and I'm the only black guy. When I'm at my distillery and there's a dozen scientists around the room and I'm the only black guy. Like, I realized when Trayvon was killed, which was the year I started my business, that a bunch of the people I worked with were super fucking racist. And it was like, well, I'm a new business owner. I can keep my yap shut and lose money, or I can speak some truth up in here. And I kind of didn't really care about losing money. I figured, yo, I can make more money. I can't make more integrity. Right. So I started, and this is the reason you and I were together, I started writing and teaching about diversity and inclusion a decade ago. And I've put tens of thousands of words and taught so many seminars and platformed as many people as I can and broadened the platform as much as I could, because the problem was, I knew, and not enough people have figured this out, I knew the problem wasn't me. The problem is this racist ass world we're living in. They put so many barriers up and then they tell you it's your fault. Yeah. They will make you blame yourself for the fact that you can't move into a red line district. Here's to putting the thumb on the scale for all of us, so we know the problem is not like what you can do for yourself, absolutely do, but understand that like you are up against the odds, and every day, that is the battle that you face. It's against yourself, and it's against all the other people. It's against the world that is taught you not to believe in you, and they taught everyone else don't believe in you. Yo, fuck that. Believe in you first. Everyone else can catch up to you.
So I have a little, because I want you to kind of tell a little bit more about your trajectory, because you had the company back in 2012, and then you had to pivot a little bit.
We're getting real? Okay.
Yes.
Let's
this is a salon.
Let's get real, all right? So I launched
we're going to do another tasting. We'll get a little bit more whiskey
in 2012. By 2015, it had attracted enough attention for the big boys to come up with the big contract, right? So I signed a multi-million-dollar contract in 2015, and they reneged on the contract. You
That's
said
a challenge.
Signed papers, but really, like, could I afford it in court? Was I right? Did I have the money to go up against this company with billions of dollars? No, right? So I put the company back out on the market. We got into a three-way bidding war with three of the biggest liquor companies on the planet. We got a great bid in 2016 from another giant company who also reneged. And in between 2016 and 2020, I talked to all of the heads of the giant companies, and they all said, yo, you have an amazing product, you have great packaging, it's got a great sales record. Good luck with that, son. And I'll never forget, I was in a conversation with a new investment group in 2020, and they tried to flip the script on my signed contract again. And on a whim, I sent a note to Fawn Weaver, the black woman who runs Uncle Nearest. I sent a note, I said, Fawn, I'm having trouble with my investor group. Can you offer any guidance? The next day, we had a guarantee for investment. Because black women run shit, yo. So when I say, I knew it wasn't me, like, I knew it wasn't me. I knew the product was good. I knew I was good. But there were people who realized, yo, if he makes hundreds of millions of dollars like we plan on making on this, who's he gonna be? I'll never forget having to literally dig coins out of my couch cushion to get to the meeting to the guy who parked the Maserati diagonally in the handicap spot in front of the building that he owned. Right? I'll never forget the guy who looked me in the eye and as he's reneging on my contract and saying, listen, 10% of something is better than 100% of nothing. And I looked at him and I said, then why do you want 90% of my nothing so badly? Yo, why would I sell you the recipe? Why would I settle for the crumbs if I have the recipe? It's my fucking cake. Sorry.
I love you, Jackie. That's a challenge.
I had a little drink.
Jackie had a testimony. Thank you.
Yo, Salon.
So for me, it definitely was access to capital. has been a major problem. Being an entrepreneur, being a female entrepreneur, I've had conversations that I didn't even think should happen in this lifetime. Steps from here at an agency that is probably no longer there, I tried to get funding. Our business at that point was probably 20 years old, and we had a proof of defined concept, success. He still wanted more. He wound up giving $500,000 to someone that had a business plan, and the person didn't pay their loan back, so I was happy about that. The old boys network is real, and the way that I've been spoken to as a woman is disrespectful.
And they keep making young boys.
And they keep, we have a consultant that I work with, this is a white guy, and I told him that you wouldn't believe the conversations that I've had to have with people. You wouldn't believe how they talk to me, how they act when you come in a room, how they don't respect your company. It's just something that I can't even explain to you as a man, and I can't explain to someone as a white person. It is like so disheartening when you have this black girl magic and you have all of these things you want to do, you have all these ideas, and then you just get shot the F down. And so the thing is, then you say, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna be self-funded. That shit doesn't work. Being self-funded is not easy. It doesn't make your business grow. So unfortunately, businesses stay small because the world wants to keep them small. So now you have to show up and you have to dance on every stage. You have to do 2 extra acts that you don't want to do just because you're a black woman. So for me, it definitely was access to capital, and also trying to build strategic relationships with strong, reputable industry partners. So you talk about diversity supplier. With our water, I'm definitely trying to get into a lot of diversity supply programs. I cannot compete with Pepsi, who's paying money to be somewhere. Where's the contract? You said you're hiring certain minority groups. Where is that? It's hard to compete with companies that have these millions of dollars for marketing. You just cannot compete. So you're kind of staying small because the world wants to keep you small, so what do? So for me, it's about collective economics. It's about trying to partner with people that understand my plight, that want to advance, our brands and businesses, but it's almost looking for a needle in a haystack, trying to find those people. The big companies say they want to do that. Where's all that money they pledged? I'm still looking. I think right now, restaurants got a boost. We got a boost because of the racial problems that we were having last year. A lot of black businesses, you get on lists, but what does that mean? That's not putting money in my pocket. And so I think we really have to be very mindful about where we put our money. I think that building that Black Wall Street back is very important, and I think collective economics is definitely going to be something that's going to help us, because I don't think a lot of people want to help us.
Nobody helping us but us.
Ms. Frankie?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't, nothing really challenging stands out, but I would like to touch on a few things that you all have mentioned. As far as knowing what you're worth and getting paid that, like Jackie, I didn't have a problem thinking or knowing what I was worth, but it was about investigating how much I could actually ask for. So I had to go around and I've asked people, not on social media, but face to face, what should what do you think I should charge for this? How much are you getting? And in one case, I was on some kind of panel for something, and I just looked at the most kind of well-known person on the list, and I just, what is he? What's he getting? Whatever he's getting, that's what I want to. So that's how I started going about these things, and I have no problem now talking about money or asking for more money or negotiating and that. So I'm really happy about that, and I guess maybe one challenge now is I've never played the, how should I say, the race card or the gender card. I've always just been Ms. Frankie, just doing my thing. And now, it's great that people want to hire, DEI and all that, but I never want people hiring me because of those things. I don't want to be a box checker for anybody. I want to be hired because you like what I do, and I'm good at it. If I happen to be good at the thing that you want me to do, and you want me for me. So that is something that, it's ironic, right? They're like, oh, come here and be the black person first. I don't want to do that. I think we've discussed this before too. So you can have that. I don't want that. So there's that. And also, in this cocktail industry, it's a little bit different because honestly, for me, it was a little bit more, I think, welcoming than corporate world. But there were definitely issues here and there. And just not being thought of as the angry black woman when you have an opinion that differs. Definitely gotten that on a few occasions. Like, I'm not yelling at you, know, it's just like, it's loud in here, it's stressful, and we're doing, so it's, you know what I mean? It's like, that stuff bothers me. I've definitely gotten that a few times, but, because sometimes you're just angry. Can I just be angry? You know, over here? So. Yeah.
Well, it's time for us to have our last sip. It is a very special bottle. This is actually the Black Bourbon Society's selection of the Jack Daniel's Single Barrel. So this is a single barrel. Single barrel is basically all the whiskey that comes out of one barrel. So it does have a little bit of nuance to it. It's got more punchy flavor. It's a little bit higher in proof than the Jack Daniel's number 7 and also the Gentleman Jack. So give that a try. It's got some great tropical notes to it. While we are sipping this, we're going to ask our final question to our honorees, and then we have their lovely gifts. You guys don't get like Oscars or anything, but you have like a gift. So can we get those gifts over, Randy and Mackenzie? Can we get the gifts? Can we start to get the gifts for them while we ask this last question? And then after that, we'll do our final toast. So your final cocktail will be coming around. And of course, it's going to feature Sorrel, because we've got to drink Jackie Summers' Sorrel that he's been talking about the entire time. All right, so let me pull up my last question, because I did not print out my script today. So before we close, we wanted to open, oh no, not that one, sorry. So what is the big picture here? What is a lasting impact and impression that we want to make? Like, what is the big picture? We're doing all of this work, we're building all of this legacy for what?
I think that my lasting impression and the lasting impression of the Grant Access will hopefully be the money that we put in other people's pockets. Every time I'm able to hire a friend to do something they're good at, I'm really excited about it. Especially, you know, people have families and things to support and mortgages now, and, you know, people are trying to do a lot of things. And so the more I'm able to give a trickle down of anything, I am really happy and excited about it. So that is my lasting impression. And hopefully when I'm long gone and the Grant Access lives on, knock on wood, that will be the continuing lasting impression, that we tried our best to invest in us, and whatever that may look like for the next 10 or 15 or 20 or 50 years, that is the goal. That's the goal.
Similar to you, it is in hiring Black creatives and making sure that they retain the rights to their work. So many people are surprised by Quinta Brunson's success with Abbott Elementary. She quadrupled her viewership from episode 1. And so I want to see 50 more of those, you know, each night in primetime television. And so I'm working very closely now on a new program that we're developing to start working with HBCUs to get young Black creatives involved and exposed to new career opportunities in TV and production. And I hope that in the next 5 years, I'm not even thinking 50 years from now, the next 5 years, we're gonna see a drastic change in realistic, grounded, authentic stories that are being able to be shared by folks that look like all of us.
What was the question again?
Why are we doing all of this? What is the lasting impression? What is the bigger picture here?
So we live in an age where people are measured by the amount of influence that they wield, but I sincerely believe that your influence is measured not in how many people follow you, but how many leaders you create. So my job is not to get people listening to everything I have to say. My job is to elevate people to a new platform so they can say their own piece in their own words and figure out what their shit is and get it out there. I'm not here to create followers. Like, we only followers, it shouldn't be none of y'all. Leaders is what I'm here to do. And if we can make a generation of people who feel like it's their right and responsibility to be out in the front, chins up, doing their thing, then that's a long-term goal. Not so any of us follow because we we have been ready. We've been ready.
I guess for me is that I made the world a better place, that I did have some influence and some success so that I could leave some generational wealth, help future generations, my daughters, and that my name is spoken of, and she was kind, she was smart, she was a disruptor, but I also want to motivate people. And so for me, it's about creating, like I said, a community of like-minded and like-hearted individuals whose lives are also improved because I was here.
Well, I agree with all of the above. And I just want to say it's been really great hearing everyone's stories, and thank you for letting me be here. And I think money is very important. That people learning that they have to not only make it but save it for those days when, like 2020 happened. You know, I think that's very important to impart on people. And also, I want to get to a place where the pendulum's going to swing back, and we don't need to focus on being a black person proving anything. You know, we're just going to be great people doing great work, you know, because we're good at what we do, no matter if what gender or how we identify or anything like that. That's what I want to see. You know, where we can all just be, right? Let those shoulders down. Just let me, you know what I mean? I just want to work. I just want to do what I do. I do want to do what I love. And I want everyone to be able to do that without having to prove anything anymore.
That proving part is...
Right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Just let the shoulders down. You know, I don't want to bear that burden for everybody.
So I do want to open it up to our audience here, which is full of friends and family and some press and our BBS members. Let's ask, are there any questions for our honorees that we have up here today? Oh, okay. Here, I'll come. Hold on. Okay, Randy, you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm one of those media people that she mentioned, but I want to know, you guys have remarkable stories, have done remarkable things. What's the next 5 years looking for all of you?
Well, for me, it's actually about implementing strategies. I mean, sometimes you sit down and you have this master plan of what you're gonna do, what you wanna do, but I think COVID gave me an opportunity to kind of re-strategize and reposition. So for me, it's really about, working on building my brand and taking it to a point where it's more national. I think a lot of entrepreneurs sit at their desk and they press a button and make money. And I want to make money when I'm asleep. So to me, it's about creating residual income. It's about diversifying my revenue streams. It's about allowing my brand to make money for me and not me just sitting there making money, if that makes any sense. So it really is about diversification of my revenue streams.
In the last 10 years, Big Liquor has quietly spent $750 billion with a B dollars acquiring craft brands. That's $750 billion. That is wealth transfer. Ask me how much if it went to anyone that looked like somebody in this room. So my job is to find brands like mine, is to build my brand for sure, but I ain't ever selling. I'm never selling Sorrel. But to build brands like mine and to get them ready for sale and to employ people that look like us, invest them in the companies and make whole generations worth of millionaires. Because when we do well, I do well.
For me, it's like you were saying. For me, it's about building my brand as well. Understanding crypto. Hello, anybody? And just being more. Honestly, working. I do still enjoy working. I love being creative, so I want to be more creative on a grander scale, and again, connecting with more people in our industry that I haven't met yet, that I know I want to be continuing to lead Again, I don't have a lot of followers, certainly not on Instagram, but it's about those connections. It's about inspiring someone that I don't even know that I'm inspiring. Hence, evenings like this. So for me, it's about those things.
This is a funny question, and this is how you know this is a panel of bosses. I hate that 5-year question. Like, not because you asked it, obviously, but as an entrepreneur, I don't know what I'm doing in 5 years. I'm hoping to make it a Friday. Like, what are you, what goals? 5 years, retirement, what does this even look like? This is how you know this is a panel of bosses, because they have answers to that question. Listen, 5 years, what I'm hoping to do is to be making more, doing less, praise God, and to watch our brands collectively grow and educate more people on what we do. And so for me, that looks a lot like what I invest with HBCU Spring Coming and higher education, sending more Black kids to Black schools, and not because it's cool, and not because they're performing at All-Star, and not because LeBron is back in FAMU now, not because of any of those reasons, but because it's literally the best place to get education. So, and we were obviously educated in that place. So there's that.
And I touched on my 5-year plan professionally, but personally, really being able to sit back and look at the fruits of my labor and see the Oscar nominees are going to change in the next 5 years, hopefully as a result of the programs that we're putting in place. We will no longer have to boycott the Hollywood Foreign Press Association and all of the other award shows, because we're going to be leading the way, and we're going to be in the positions to make sure that our peers are properly acknowledged for the hard work that they're doing. And celebrating on a yacht, popping some bottles recommended to me by Samara. Yes.
So if there are any other questions out there, please raise your hand. But before this question gets asked, we're also going to have Samara answer the question.
This is not about me today. Okay, so real friends. So this is not about me, and I really don't want to be in the spotlight. I want to use my spotlight to shine on others. Y'all know that. But I am inspired by all of you. Jackie spoke very eloquently about not having followers, but creating leaders. And he, in a big way, inspired me to use my voice and to really speak up. When I first came into this industry, I just wanted to drink with people who look like me. But Jackie gave me a little bit more purpose than that, and really helped me to dive in more into the D&I space, and to really continue to use my voice and my influence to advocate for diversity and inclusion within this industry. So I owe a world of thanks to my role model, Jackie Summers.
Wait. Because she ain't gonna do this because it ain't about her. Let's be real clear about this. Samara saw a space where these giant liquor companies who make so much money on people that look like us had no idea how to market to us. And so out of her own vision, she said, I'm gonna create something that doesn't exist. I'm gonna make a company that teaches these companies how to market to us, and I'm gonna make them pay me for it. Yo, that's a boss-ass move.
Okay, so that boss-ass move also came from Lauren. I'm not telling you, I'm so inspired by you all, but a mix of that and a mix of yes, we've always been event planners, you and I, but being able to utilize my passion for the spirits industry, my passion for speaking up, and being able to just piece it all together. I took a little bit of Jax, I took a little bit of Lauren, I took a little bit of finesse from Miss Frankie, because I've been stalking her for years, y'all. and just seeing how this all kind of comes together, that's who I am. I'm just a little piece of them. Okay, so let's get. Yes, I'm a special person. Okay, questions in the red hat.
Hey, how you doing, guys? This question is for Melissa, actually. Aside from what's for dinner tomorrow, that is my wife. I have to ask, and I could ask you this on any other day, but I think the people need to hear it. Why do you think people of color are being used as placeholders in our C-suites, if we even make it there, or in any leadership role, and our voices are only necessary in a time of crisis?
This feels like a setup question.
Without giving you a master plan, you could tell them what you told me in Pillow Talk. I'm gonna stop.
We talk so much. I don't know what can be shared publicly or not. Right. I think it's a mix of dual responsibility, right? You have the folks in the positions of power that are hiring folks that are going to acquiesce their plans and not really push back because they, again, like I said, everybody has bills to pay. Everybody wants to, I think the old guard be the one in the room, the one having the influence and being able to lead the conversation, receive the accolades, so on and so forth. And I think the next generation, my generation and beyond, it has changed to be more inclusive, and that's what we value. And I think that is shocking to those who are in those positions of power who are so accustomed to us taking a step back and being okay with only one of us in any of our industries being the only face in a room. And so there's comfort in that. When you have 7 versus 1, it's a lot easier versus 10 versus 7. And so it's being able to create the groundswell of those 10 to have the power to infiltrate these spaces and letting the 7 know that what used to pass as being okay will no longer be. In addition to that, I think that cancel culture has a lot to do with it. And my company in particular, you know, Nick Cannon is one of our biggest stars. We have grounded ourselves recently in counsel culture over cancel culture. And the fear of cancel culture over the last 3 years in particular has led so many companies to do these knee-jerk, you know, really just, like I said, cutting the check actions when it's not really strategic. There's no true plan in place. And so again, making sure that folks are empowered, that can be strategic and that can have an influence to do these strategic hiring practices and to make content and products that need the exposure and need the funding is going to be what takes us to the next level.
And tomorrow night's dinner is takeout, so pull out your Amex on that one.
You're fixing dinner.
I wanted to add on to Pete's question and say, how do we go from having the knowledge that we're used as placeholders for crisis and leverage that into, I guess, the potential to build a pulley system to help pull one another up out of that space and make sure that we're no longer being used and that we establish, I guess, like cemented or foundational like roles that can't be erased.
So one of the ways that happens is what you're seeing right now, because Samara did not wait for someone to honor people. She was like, I have a platform, I'm giving people I want flowers right here, right now. So stop waiting for someone else to give you the flowers, like, do it yourself.
And I would just add on to that, you know, training and learning and just showing up and being so incredibly good at what you do that they can't deny you. You know what I mean? That there's nowhere else to look but at you. You know, that's what I think.
And also, you know, I told someone that sometimes instead of waiting for people to invite you to the table, you have to build your own table and bring your own seats. You have to build your own brands. You have to celebrate your own people. And I also think there's a mindset change that there's only enough at the top for one, and there's enough at the mountaintop for all of us. So we have to have more of the abundance view of the world, that just one of us is not enough. Like my brother always says, when you get to the top, send the elevator down for somebody else. And so we do have to realize that we're responsible for each other's success. And so when you're there, you have to be advocating for other people, and you have to say other people's names in rooms where you are in, when you can make an influence.
Everyone needs a champion.
Yep.
I was just gonna say, don't shy away from being the token. You're the token, and don't be dumb and naive about it either, right? You know that you're the token in the room, right? Own it and bring everyone you fucking can along with you. That is how you do it. You just bring everyone along. Every big opportunity I've gotten has been because someone said my name in a room that wouldn't have been said otherwise, in full transparency, and they did it as the token. And they may have had to fight for it, but then when you bring those people, they have to do a really good job, right? So your work has to back that up. But don't be naive about being the token, but don't shy away from it either. You know, don't be afraid to be the only black person in the room, the only person with reason, the only person with a different idea. Voice your idea, and if they don't like it, keep on voicing it. Because the other thing about being the token is they're not gonna fire you. They can't afford to do it. You the token.
I gotta build on this one. So there's been so many times when I know I got called into spaces to be the credibility card. Oh, we have the good Negro. Little did know I was the unruly Negro. And you get in that space, and then I open my mouth, and people are looking like, did you invite him in here? Did you know? When you get in that space, if you cannot have more people like you at the table, flip that table. It's not for you.
So if I'm going to add to this, I used to enjoy being the only black person in the room. And my husband taught me this. I literally used to stand in the middle of the room, short, 5'3", black lady with big blonde hair. I just cut it off. And I would just make friends with everybody. And if I didn't introduce myself to you by the end of the evening, you were like, well, who is she? I need to go introduce myself to her. And I would use my voice. I would tell everyone what my passion was, why I was there, what my purpose was, and what I intended to do. And I made them respect me. I made them fall in love with my mission for Black Bourbon Society, and I made them want to work with me. And then, just like what Lauren said earlier, I brought everybody with me. Black Bourbon Society is the largest whiskey society in the country. We have over 25,000 members, and it is all run by a bunch of dope-ass black women. And I am super proud of that. And I have to say, because I hear his energy pulling, it's ran by a whole bunch of dope-ass black women, but my husband makes sure I get paid. So it is a whole family ordeal, and we have, like you said, everybody's black. My photographer's black, my videographer's black, Brandy's black, like Mackenzie, like my whole program team, our social media, like everybody we bring to the top. And they all know, like, my promise to them, especially Mackenzie and Randy, was I can't afford to pay you today, but if you stick with me, if you help me grow this brand, you get a percentage of every single contract I bring in. And if we continue to grow and we continue to strategize, one day I'm going to be able to put you on the payroll. One day we're all going to be making six figures. One day we all going to be running this global marketing agency for multicultural brands, like for multicultural audiences. Like they believed in the mission and they believed in me, and together we are all rising. So I said I wasn't going to cry, but here we are. All right, so I think everyone has a cocktail except for us. Are they coming?
Hint.
Okay, so we'll ask one more question before we get our cocktails. Yes.
Hello, good evening, all of you. I think that a lot of entrepreneurship comes from the need of, or comes from the seeing gaps and blind spots in companies. So, and there are some entrepreneurs on the board, and Melissa, you work for a company, and I want to know all of your perspectives. What is the biggest challenge you guys see with corporations and companies not being more diverse, not being more inclusive, and not continuing to bring about equity to our voices and our stories and our work? So tell me, what are the challenges you guys find or see or notice within the companies you work with or for?
I can chime in from the corporate perspective. It's actually much simpler, the problem, than people recognize. It's about networking. And folks in production in particular, tend to tap the same well, and it's the folks that they go to a bar with, it's the folks that they go out, you know, shopping with on the weekend, and those are people that tend to look like you, have the same interests as you. Doesn't leave a lot of room for the FAMU grad, you know, when you have your UPenn network coming together. So making sure that we partner with Ava DuVernay's Array Crew and Hugh You Know, which is another Black TV and film collective, to make sure that even though it's not the most convenient option for those that are hiring, they do have to disrupt the norm of tapping that same well and reach out to new networks of aspiring and already established Black creatives to get the jobs done.
I think there are a couple of things. It ties into that token thing, right? Like, you got to have somebody in the room who knows that you're doing it wrong. I remember when in my advertising days, feels like a previous life, but my advertising days, I remember being in a room with the team of a large liquor brand that will remain unnamed, and they were investing in digital media, and they were only advertising on NBA.com and Complex.com, and that was their entire digital media strategy. And I literally sat in a room with them, and I was like, quick question, right? Because the team actually had nobody diverse on it. The most they had was a white woman. And I was like, hey, you know, like the Black men 18 to 34 that drink, or 21 to 34 who drink this, actually go on other websites. You may also find them on CNN.com because they read, right? And so, right, like being able to say that in the room opens someone's mind to say, you know what, I never thought about it like that. And as simple as that is to us, it means a lot to someone that's having the challenge. It is hard for a large corporation that's making billions of dollars to find the little Black event production agency that they have not been scorned by, right? Because all of us have had the bad experience at the Black dry cleaners who shrunk our favorite sweater, and now we never want to go back, right? And so we have to either A, find training for that Black dry cleaners that they don't do that again, and really invest in them and tell them the truth. Yo, I can't come back here because y'all shrunk my sweater. You got to tell people that. You also have to make sure that when you get in the room, you do a good job. And so these companies are afraid. And so when they give us opportunities, we have to kill it every single time. There is no room for mistake. There is no room for any mishap. You got to kill it every single time. And so until these companies become less afraid of us, number one, and number two, have someone in the room who's speaking up and telling them, hey, you can produce this gazillion-dollar event with a Black company, right, and still hit all of your quotas, right? Until they have somebody doing that, we're always going to come up against the good old boys network of, I'm only going to call my friend from UPenn because that's who I know.
So the biggest obstacle to entrepreneurship is a steady paycheck. I'll never forget, a couple of years ago, I was invited to be on a quote-unquote diversity board of some of the most august members of my industry. And there's 24 dope-ass people of color sitting around the table talking about what they did for this company, and everybody was impressive. And for whatever reason, they saved me to go last. And I said, my name is Jackie Summers, and when I got my license to make liquor, I was the only person in America, I was the only Black person in America with that license. And everybody clapped, and I said, don't clap. Like, how is this a good thing? I said, y'all are all doing amazing things, but there are parties that will be thrown this weekend that are worth more than all your annual salaries combined. And then I asked the question, and this still fucks with me today. I said, listen, this is 2018. In 1618, 99% of Black people in this country work for a white person. How many of y'all are still working for a white person? And that steady paycheck will make you go, I can't go own this. But if you don't own it, it owns you, right? There's no path to wealth that comes from working for somebody else. We have owned this for so long. It is time and listen, we come from a generation where we were taught, go to school, get a good job, keep your head down. You never get ahead. Because I did it for 25 years. You never get ahead that way. a steady paycheck is a death sentence. Thank you. And that doesn't mean that you can't work for somebody else, because you can. You can work for somebody that look like you. Because I tell you right now, the only time in my entire life I've ever made what I was worth was when I paid myself.
Whoa, Jackie. I think a bigger obstacle too is that you are asking people to change how they think and see the world. And that's the hardest thing, is to get people to think like you. And the only thing I can say is that, being collective and trying to change the world is going to be easier if we are in the room. We can't change people. You can't change the fact that old boys network is real. I'm Black Ivy. I went to Columbia, and I understood how students had internships already signed up because of their dads. And if we don't have these systems in place for our people, who's going to pull us up? Certain unions in the city that you have to be legacied in. Someone has to bring you in. So there'll never be Black women in certain unions if they don't have an in. So we literally have to squeeze ourselves into these places when we do have the opportunity and really bring each other in, because they are not going to do it.
I was going to say, first of all, thank you for this cocktail that matches my outfit. I appreciate it. You read my contract. But I think that part of the problem was, right after BLM, all these companies put the DEI in place, and they were scrambling, and they didn't have a long-term plan. You know what I mean? It was just trying to throw money. And I think I'm not defending it, but I think that a lot of them just don't really know what to do now. So I think that it's important to help build that long-term plan for a lot of these companies. How can you really implement these strategies and make some changes rather than just throwing money here and there? And also, when we do, if you are that token in the room or whoever, I think it's really important to make people understand that, we're not monolithic. And people talk about the Black voice, the Black experience. Well, we're a bunch of different colored people in here, different shades, and our experience they're not all equal, they're not the same, they're not, I really think it's important to get a cross-section of opinions, like different opinions as to how we live and how we want to see the world, and not just one person or from one section of society, just so people realize that we're different. We're different. We have different needs and wants. So I think that's very important too, that we're individuals, to keep reminding people of that. It's not just one Black voice,
You guys are so amazing. Can we just give a round of applause? This was better than our Atlanta honoree session, by the way.
Say it again.
Yes. So New York, you guys showed up all the way. We do have your award. My team, Randy and Mackenzie, are going to be passing them out. They are bottles of our, yes, you have to have that. Yes, July 8th. Lauren, you can open your bottle. But they're single barrels, the Black Bourbon Society single barrel that you can get. Yes, we're going to get to this in a second. But I want to give you your award first. I want to make sure that we honor you. And they've got your name engraved on them. So don't take them to the barbecue. Keep this in a special place. Yes. Don't share this with the cousins. That's what I always tell the members. So, you don't take it to the head, though, right? Okay, Jack, you can take it to the head. And so these are our special gifts from you, and also for our friends at Jack Daniels. We have Brian Green, who believed in us, who is one of the only ones in the room with Jack Daniels who has definitely advocated for organizations like myself to have a bigger presence. So we have to say thank you to Brian, because you need someone, like you said, you need someone in that door who can pull it up. And like you said, we have to come in and we've got to kill it. And I think we killed it, Brian. I think we did. So final toast. This is, I have to say, the first cocktail you had was created by Shannon Mustafer, who, like I said, she's the first Black woman to write a cocktail book. She created the first cocktail that we drank. We're calling it the Harlem Shuffle. The second cocktail is created with Sorrel and Jack Daniels. It is a Sorrel Manhattan. And who wants to give the final toast? You want to? We should do your call and response, Jackie.
May you live forever.
May you never die. Cheers, everyone. Thank you so much. We invite you all to mix and mingle and continue to ask questions with our folks. And then if you would like to join us for more cocktails upstairs, please do. I have to give a special shout out to the staff here at Jenny's Supper Club, Red Rooster. Chef Kingsley in the back, we have to give him honor. He would not get on stage, but it's okay. We love him. Thank you for the food, and thank you for being here. So yes, thank you all for coming this week, today. And we'll see you again, hopefully next year with a whole new round of honorees. Yes, thank you. Thank you.